Most organizations treat meeting fatigue as a cultural annoyance or a minor human resources complaint to be managed with wellness tips. Look at this pipeline diagram showing capital flow. That leak represents $399 billion draining from the United States economy every single year. It works out to a cost of $25,000 per employee. The volume causing this is massive. Following the shift to remote work, synchronous corporate meetings rose by 252. The failure originates at the executive level, where managers routinely mistake synchronous visibility, seeing faces on a screen, for actual operational velocity. This comparative view shows the disconnect. On the left, the executive dashboard shows 100% schedule utilization. On the right, the ground truth shows an operator's cognitive capacity redlining with zero deep work output. This exact dynamic forces 67% of directors to work overtime simply to execute their core technical tasks. By increasing meeting density to monitor a team's output, leadership directly stalls the actual production of that output. Human bandwidth possesses hard, inflexible physical limits. Just like mechanical processors, brains run out of processing power when forced to render too many concurrent tasks. To fix this operational gridlock, we have to audit the physical limitations of the human processor under extreme load. The biological cost begins at the interface. Modern video calls force operators to process compressed audio and decode macro expressions simultaneously. This requires unnatural, sustained eye contact across a grid of digital faces, creating an intense cognitive strain that the brain interprets as high-stress interaction. This induces a phenomenon called mirror anxiety. Constantly monitoring your own facial expressions on a delayed video feed is something human beings never evolved to do. This continuous rendering and self-monitoring exhausts the brain's processing capacity at a highly accelerated rate. Physical in-person communication carries natural recovery mechanisms, looking away, natural acoustics, and spatial awareness. Video interfaces strip all of those away. The data proves that burnout correlates directly with meeting density. This is true whether a worker is fully remote, hybrid, or entirely in office. The virtual meeting interface generates severe, invisible mechanical friction on the operator. Task switching between these alignment check-ins and actual execution work destroys 40% of an employee's productive capacity. The brain requires physical time to dump the temporary memory cache of the meeting you just left. It must then expend intense cognitive effort to reconstruct the complex mental architecture required for deep engineering or strategic work. Look at how back-to-back scheduling degrades focus. A necessary 90-minute block of uninterrupted concentration is violently fractured into jagged, disconnected 20-minute intervals. These 20-minute fragments are mathematically useless for solving complex problems. By the time the brain achieves flow state, the next calendar notification fires. This zero recovery scheduling prevents the brain from resetting, compounding stress throughout the day. The modern corporate calendar physically prevents the exact deep work it demands from its operators. This structural calendar failure trickles down, trapping entire teams in endless loops of alignment calls and status updates. We see the creation of visibility meetings. These are scheduled purely to soothe management anxiety about what employees are doing, rather than to facilitate actual collaboration. The logistical friction of remote scheduling transforms what used to be a 30-second shoulder tap in an office into an expensive 30-minute calendar block. The middle management control point owner is the primary bottleneck grinding against this frantic pace of incoming synchronous requests. This bottleneck forces department directors to push their actual core responsibilities into unpaid overtime hours. It also creates a meeting hangover. Cognitive depletion from a morning packed with calls ruins an operator's decision quality for the rest of the day. Adding more synchronization tools or software layers does not solve the problem. It only compounds the physical strain on the operator by adding another inbox to check. This leads to a measurable paradox. Employees feel structurally lonely and disconnected, despite spending 35 hours a month looking directly at their team on video. Any system requiring continuous context switching and synchronous visibility is mechanically defective. It must be engineered out of the organization. The solution relies on restorative engineering. Technology and systems must restore human capability through subtraction, not addition. We must apply the minimalist design philosophy of industrial designer Dieter Rams, the concept of less but better, to the core architecture of corporate communication. This philosophy requires treating human attention as a highly constrained, physical material that must be rigorously conserved. The immediate necessity is eliminating recurring status and alignment meetings from the calendar entirely. We enforce a practice of information fasting to apply hard parameter limits to all incoming corporate data streams. Operators must reject the premise that verbal consensus equals progress. Strict subtraction, rather than better time management, is the only architectural fix capable of restoring operational capacity. To execute this, we use the 48-hour protocol to force an immediate, measurable break in the defective communication system. The first step is simple. Mandate the cancellation of all alignment syncs for a 2-day testing period to create baseline recovery time. During this period, deploy asynchronous extraction. Replace the canceled meetings with a strictly formatted 150-word text brief. This brief must identify the exact system blockage, the specific component failing, and the proposed bypass method, nothing else. You then demand a binary yes or no approval decision from the control point owner. This strict boundary condition isolates the data needed to move forward. It eliminates the need for a 30-minute video call to resolve a 30-second variable. By imposing these severe boundary conditions, organizations protect the cognitive reserves of their frontline operators and restore true execution velocity to the enterprise.